This is the strategy that works. We've been doing this for the last 3.5 years, and it's going to get the most levels of engagement.
It's time to eat up, right like a speeder, taking it deeper, and that's how it better be. I never let the comparison get to me. I just remember the promises meant for me. I know the enemy and that he's sent for me. I keep the blood of the lamb as my centerpiece. I cannot trust in no crystals or energy. Look at the chemistry, it do not even mix chemically. Most of the tricks, they be gimmicks, they mimic the truth. It's poison and we got the remedy.
And what we're looking for is people that are hungry, wanting to hustle, wanting to break through walls, wanting to go after that legendary status.
They say you ain't about it. Tell them that you finna make it, but they doubt it. But you rose like the flower. Tell me what it's like to live with superpowers. I don't know, but I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I just know that I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it.
What's up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan. It's Tuesday, so we're here to talk about industrial marketing. For those of you that are new to the content, go to every major platform and type my name, and you can go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go over to LinkedIn, type my name, follow me. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. We've got a ton of videos, too many to count at this point. That's what we're all about here, is providing you guys with valuable content about what we see here at MFG Tribe. While we're marketing beat on the street, pounding the pavement for our clients, trying to help them dominate in their specific industrial manufacturing vertical. And we take all of that knowledge of what we're learning is working best today and provide you with that content. On Thursdays, twice a month, we talk about sales. Are we doing that this week? So this week on Thursday, we're talking about sales, industrial sales. I bring in Alex and we go through the sales side of things. So both sides, marketing and sales. Today's topic could be controversial depending on who's watching this. As always, I come with the truths and I don't hold anything back except for my dirty mouth because I don't want to get banned by LinkedIn. Laura's like, huh? So today we're talking about, do influencers in industrial work? What are your guys' thoughts? Put them in the comment section. Tell me if you're watching this live, put that in the comment section. We're going to head over to the board. Got a different setup today. What color we want to use, Justin?
Red.
We're going to use red?
Yeah.
All right. That camera's like that? Okay. So number one, we're going to say, what is the goal? That's where we're going to start this conversation. Because I've got mixed feelings on it, and I've seen all sides of it. This is not just like, oh, Kyle, you think you're an influencer. No. This is all sides of it, from people I know, people I see, brands I've worked with that have used people, and people that are somewhat more popular in the space and some that are not as popular. You got to start with the goal. What is the goal of working with this, we'll do the air quotes, influencer? Is it to just get attention around a post? Are you going to send a product to somebody that gets attention on social? Typically it's LinkedIn, not so much Instagram, but somebody that's on LinkedIn, they post something, they get a lot of attention. You're like, oh my God, if I could send them this of mine, if I can get them to wear this of mine, then it will get attention. Or if they can review this thing, it will get attention. That's one aspect of it, is just getting attention to the brand. So if that's the goal, maybe it can work, and we'll go into some details on that. If the goal is acquisition, you want somebody to, or transactional, you want somebody to say, oh, I'm going to give this to this person, they're going to post it, and then from that post, I'm going to get a transaction. Somebody fill out a lead form, somebody fill out an RFQ, somebody purchase something from your e-com site, something like that. That's a different type of story. So let's first talk about getting attention. We have to break this down and say, look at the person that you're thinking about courting for this conversation and say, how are they getting attention now? Is it videos that they're creating? Is it images? Is it long form text? And what do you think that it is about them that is getting the attention? That's number one. Because you don't want to put a square peg in a round hole and force like, oh, they do videos, or they just post pictures, but what I have really needs a video to explain it. That's probably not going to work to get attention. So you have to look at, how are they currently getting attention? The second thing is, who are they getting attention from? You cannot just look at vanity metrics. This is no different than when it comes to marketing. When you say, oh my God, I did this campaign and I got 5,000 people on my website. Cool. That's a vanity metric. It's great to see like an increase, no different than on social, a lot of impressions, a lot of likes, a lot of comments. But the devil's in the details. And you got to look at who is the audience. There are people on LinkedIn and industrial that get lots of engagement, like way more than me. When it comes to likes and stuff, I'm talking like 500, 800, 1,300 likes on a post. But if you click on the little number that shows it and start going through the people that are liking it, if that group of people is not the target demographic of who you want to get attention from, then it is a waste of time. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of money. That person, while they are getting a lot of attention, it's from the wrong demographic. So no different than network size, right? So on LinkedIn, whether you have 500 connections, 5,000, 50,000 followers, whatever, how powerful is your following? How powerful is your network? Is it just random? Like back in the day, years ago, people used to say it was an acronym LION, which is like LinkedIn Open Network, LION, and they would put it in their profile headline. They'd be like, Kyle Mylan, in parentheses, LION, which just means I'm willing to connect with anybody. I hate that. I can't stand it. I think it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of attention. It's a waste of interacting with those people. Those people send me connection requests. I'm like, no, thanks. So look at the network and who's engaging. So if you look at just a post like, oh my God, I want to go after this person, which, cutting straight to the chase, I would say more than half of the influencers in industrial are women. And so if I look at so-and-so's post and she posted a picture, she posted, usually it's pictures, and I look at who liked it, and if it's all a bunch of people that are not in the demographic that I'm trying to go after, so for instance, a lot of people from overseas, a lot of people from Asia and the Middle East and stuff like that, if I want that person to get attention from my brand and the majority of their traffic is coming from that, and I look through their posts and it's like only when they post certain types of things do they get that level of attention, then that's not a fit for me. Now, the person themselves may be able to provide value if they can speak to it, or out of that 1,000 people or 200 people that like something, there's a small percentage, but you got to go into it with that mindset of like, not just like, oh my God, they get so many likes on LinkedIn. It's like 500, 700. Yeah, but the part that you're missing is from your audience, industrial manufacturing people that, let's just say, are in the US that are engineering, ops, purchasing, etc. That list is like much smaller. And even if it's 10%, if that works for you, then that works, right? But look at the types of posts that they're doing to understand it. Look at what your goal is for that specific thing, let's say attention and brand awareness. What's their audience like, and then how much engagement are they getting? Because if they have a following of 70,000 or 50,000 or 20,000, but it's all people from random industries, again, it doesn't help you. And you can't go through and look at who all of their followers are. That's where you have to look at the engagement. You just click on the number, see who's liking it, just get a rough idea, scroll through the likes, the loves, the supports, etc., and see like roughly, is this, thumbs up, thumbs down to the target demographic that you have. So it starts with a goal, brand awareness. Now, on the flip side of it, transactional, this is where I see a lot of times it fails. And I've seen this across numerous brands. I've seen this across numerous people trying to do things that result in transactional. It usually, and I'm not going to say an absolute word of like never, it usually doesn't carry over. So it's like people will post it, oh my God, I love this brand, I love this thing, I love this technology, whatever. And people are like, yeah, I love it too. But does it result in a transaction? Typically not. And especially if you're looking for a quick transaction, like within the post, or a spike in traffic to the site. So it's like, oh, Kyle, of course it's not going to be a transaction. Like, it's a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment. Okay. Did it produce a significant spike in traffic to the site? Typically not. Typically it stays within LinkedIn and it just stays there. Then they post again, and it's like, again, 500 likes, comments, etc. Oh my God, this is so great. The level of cheesiness that happens on LinkedIn and industrial with the comments is like absolutely ridiculous. People post ridiculous things like, don't forget to live, love, laugh, and don't forget that you could do everything that you set out to do, and then it'll be like 1,200 likes to it. We all know here in this office at least, and most people on LinkedIn know why people are liking these posts. Like, call a spade a spade. But what's interesting to me, and it took me 9 years to build this agency where it's at, and we're going to continue to grow even bigger than we have been. What's interesting is the level of attention and what it does to a person to get them to be like, you know what, I should just do this as my full-time job. It's like, cool. You now quit your job and you're doing this other thing, whatever it is, full-time. That's great. And you're like, I'm going to produce content for people and help people. That's great. Where I start to get a little annoyed is when those people are like, dude, what I know just works the best. It's like, okay, now I'm going to take some exception to that, because you as a singular person, an entity of one in your business, you have small scale and small scope of what you're doing. And you're like, this is working for this one instance at this company, or I've done this for 3 companies in a row. When you get to bigger scale, when you're talking 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, and you're actually doing this at scale, that's where a lot of times those tactics that those people are talking about, they don't work at scale. It may work in a singular instance where they're a freelancer. Like my buddy that I worked with for, their company hired me and they're paying me $3,000 a month to do X, Y, and Z. Cool. I applaud it. You went out on your own and you've got entrepreneurial spirit. But to turn it up a notch and be like, yeah, this is where the market's going, this is what works, unless you've proven it at scale, you can't possibly say that. And so when agency owners come in industrial and look at what a freelancer basically is saying, even if they own a company, they're a freelancer, they're saying do this. It's like, that doesn't work at scale. It does work in single instance. So make sure that you clarify that when you're saying that messaging. But what's interesting is what's happened over the course of, I'll say the last 4 years, of people post stuff on LinkedIn, they start to get attention. Then people either go videos, podcasts, usually not written content, but it's like video or podcast. Okay, everybody's got a podcast. I was talking with people about this at IMTS. I was talking with this people at after parties at IMTS, at FabTech as well. It's like everybody's got a podcast. I need a drink. I'm choking over here. I'm trying to get over this cold. Everybody's got a podcast, and all the podcasts are the same. Like, I'm going to teach you about this. I'm going to interview these people. I'm going to interview those people. And I've seen some of these podcasts. I'm just like, dude, it's the same thing. Everybody has a podcast. What are you going to do different? Is your podcast going to be on site? There's one, who was it? I think it's Coffee with Jim and James. I don't know either one of them personally, but I've seen them do podcasts like at events, which is cool. I saw it at FabTech and IMTS. People are like, oh my God, I'm going to set up my table and I'm going to have some mics. I'm going to do a podcast. That's cool. But it's like, what's even cooler is when I saw one where it was like in a country club after a golf outing event, they did one like at the table. Like that to me is scrappy. But if it's like the same type of podcast, you're interviewing somebody or you're talking about some subject and bringing a guest on, like it's the same thing. I think that the market is going to start to reject these over the next couple of years because nobody's really doing anything different. But these people create content. They're like, I'm going to do a podcast, quit their job. I'm going to do this full time. I'm an influencer. People pay me to come to events. Cool. Like, that's great. There's lots of people out there that do that. But for me, it's like, find the person with the personality that you can use to then host something for you, which we've seen this a handful of times. Is like, you get, this person has an energetic personality. They're good on camera. They can speak intelligently. They can engage the audience. I'm going to have him host my show. That's called ABC. And it's the reason why I'm going to have him host is because I don't have any current employees that are going to host it. Makes total sense to me. So if you go into it and say, I'm going to use them to get attention, but I'm not going to pay them directly to like do a post on LinkedIn. Like, hey, can you, it'd be like me asking Lar to like take a picture of our hat and post it on LinkedIn. Like, that happens. There's people that have done that where they just like put a hat on and they're like, which hat should I wear? And it's like 1,200 likes. I think that's absolutely stupid. And if those people that do that come across this, they're gonna be like, no way, man, that's awesome. No, that's stupid. But if you go into and you say, I want brand awareness or I want to host something, makes complete sense. It's when you go transactional. I think that by doing this, we did this with IMTS with an influencer. Worst performance, right? We were doing lives with our client, and we brought in a special guest, and the numbers just completely sucked. And that's what I'm going to talk about in point number 2. Switch to that other camera. There's only 2 points for this episode. Number 2, tracking and data. You know why that's important? Because data don't lie unless the person that's putting it in or editing it is lying. Data doesn't lie. So we did this with a client's brand, brought in a guest, had him on the live, and those numbers were worse than people that I was like, oh, that was a rough one. And then we bring in the person that's like the brand, and I'm like, that was even worse than the last one. It wasn't like the production value was bad. It was just like the engagement of the numbers, the views, the impressions, the engagement, etc. It was just not good. And that's where it all comes back to that. Is like, you can look at the vanity metrics of like, I paid this person to post and they did these many numbers and likes, but like go to the bottom of the funnel. Like, did it result in actual money? I had a friend say that they had a brand, and they're like, Kyle, this brand is getting so much attention, so much engagement, so much love on LinkedIn and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, I think that we should do this stuff for these influencers. And I said to them, have they even like purchased what it is that you're selling? No, but they get free samples. Okay, they get it for free, but they won't purchase it. So like, that's not really supporting you. And number 2, like, has anything that they've done resulted in a transaction? And I just looked at the data. So I got access to the data, and it was like, none of that for like 12 months resulted. Like, all of this fluff and hot air around it never resulted in transaction. And there could be influencers out there. They're like, no, but I did a campaign for this robotics company or for this machine company or whatever, and it did result. It can happen, but for the most part, it doesn't. It's no different than going to a very popular media company in the metal space and being like, I want, your brand, I want to pay your brand to create this content for me. But if you look at the brand's attention that they get on what they create, and the views are low and the engagement's low, it's like, well, even their stuff really isn't super high. I mean, look at our stuff, right? We've got videos out there that we think are awesome that have like 100 views. There's a lot of variables that go into it. Is the tag, the title, the search volume, the quality of the video is good, the content is good, just not enough people are seeing it. So it results in like the SEO side of YouTube. But if you look at a popular brand with a good following, there's like a base level of like how much engagement should get on a video, especially on YouTube. And so if you look at it and you're like, these numbers are like not even close to the subscriber count, and what it is, it's like something's off here. They don't have the reach that they say that they do. And so it just always comes back to the data. It always comes back to being able to track that data and measure it. So I would just say, to sum this up in general, if you are thinking about going with an influencer, number 1, start with the goal and say, what is the goal of this? I want either brand attention, transactional, or host for something. Cool. Set that standard, and then really think and look at their network and say, is who they're connected with, is who their engagement typically is that my same target demographic? If it is, great. If it's not, maybe hold off on it or find somebody else. And the number 2 point is going to be the tracking and the data. You have to be able to find some way to track this to measure performance. You have to look at, even if it's a free thing with an influencer, it's time, right? And time is not free. So even if it's like, oh no, they're not going to charge me, but I'm going to invest this time and have conversations, maybe it ends up being like 3 hours of your time. That's still worth something. Like, even if you are starting off, your time is worth money to somebody. Just most of the market doesn't realize it yet because you haven't sold it well enough. But even your time on it is like, was that a good usage of my time? The conversations, the things I'm doing on the side, free products, free promos, like whatever you're doing, was it worth it? Always just go back to the data and track it. That's all I can say in this subject. And again, from the beginning, I've seen this from our standpoint as an agency working with brands and influencers. I've seen this with people that I know that are in that influencer space and what they do and how they get attention. And I've seen it from my POV of, I have like around 24,000 followers on LinkedIn. 90% of them are industrial people, sales, marketing, ops, engineering, and C-suite. I see the numbers, I see the data, I see other people in the space. I look at their numbers and data, or the team does, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a bunch of fluffy BS." Everybody's like, "Oh my god, I want them to speak," but then when they speak, it's like not valuable. Or when they post things, it's like really like that's what you're posting to get attention. So we've seen this from all different angles. I just wanted to bring some awareness around it from our POV. So we're going to take a short break and come back and answer any questions or comments live. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Hopefully you liked that video. I have to say, and whenever Laura's and her team create videos, she'll like bring it in and be like, "What do you think, Kyle?" That video, I said like, there's a problem with our video department right now, a massive problem. It's been like this for like the last year. Every single time that they create a hype video, it like one ups the last one that they did. So the bar is just constantly being raised. I would say that FabTech video from a hype video standpoint is fighting with probably, would you say, Laura, that video that Shelby made, the hype, like one or two for the past 12 to, I'd say, history of MFG Tribe. So if you guys like that video, put a comment in the comment section congratulating the MFG Tribe team and call them out because it's just insane. And if you guys were at FabTech, put a comment in the comment section and say you were there. And maybe you saw us. We kind of had a decent presence there. And 2025, we're going even bigger. And maybe even, I think that we're going to have to exhibit at IMTS when it rolls back into town as well. All right, peeps, do we have any comments, questions?
Yeah, I just want to make sure my microphone doesn't sound super loud on the stream, but we have a few comments.
Let's hear it.
Tim Drinkwater says, I'd say maybe it's another tool in the toolbox. Got to use the tool properly.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Tim. If it's used properly with the right expectations, that's the key, then it can do something, but it's just generalization around like consumer influencers and being like, I'm going to hire this influencer celebrity or person or what, a YouTube influencer to come onto my consumer focused show, consumer focused brand, and do a commercial, a video, a podcast, whatever. That's completely different than industrial. So as long as you go into it with the right expectations and a goal in mind, then it can be effective.
Sai says, do you think this trend is increasing globally or just in the USA?
So I think that it's trending in the world, like it always has been. at least for the last 5 years, and like the use of influencers. Doesn't matter the country that you're in. Europe has it, Asia has it, Middle East has it, US has, like everybody's got influencers. So I think it's going to continue to expand, especially post COVID, right? Like there's so many people that during COVID, during the lockdown in all the countries, there were so many people that became influencers because of what they were doing, whether it's because they were documenting their life, they started creating content, they found a hobby, etc. Like so many different things, so many different people came and emerged from that to where this is just going to be this is just norm now. It's not like a trend. It's just normal part of marketing is using influencers or people with reach.
And Mike Landers says, was Oprah an incorrect use of a paid influencer?
Was that Mark Landers?
Oh, Mark Landers.
Yeah, I would say so, Mark. That was not a good use of an influencer. Which, if she's an influencer to you, then it probably was. But from my POV, it was definitely not, and that's funny that you would say that. Mark, blast from the past. Hope you're doing well, brother.
Tim says, do you see a distinction between an influencer and an industry expert?
So I would say that they're kind of synonymous because industry experts kind of can become influencers because they get paid for what they do, right? I think that there's definitely a difference, but unfortunately the market's like, they're like, oh wait, no, so I just hired an industry expert. Everybody's like, oh yeah, this person, this influencer on social, knows a lot about this. I'm bringing them in to speak. I'm bringing them in to talk. Usually the influencer status comes from knowing something. And in this industry, it's usually not just like, oh, I saw him on a show, right? Because it's not consumer focused. But like straight up, my honest opinion is that most of the influencers, like, they don't really know anything. They're not really an expert in anything in particular. And even the handful that I've talked to directly, that the industry would be like, oh my God, they're influencers. It's like, when you peel back the layers of that onion, there's really nothing there that's like I know people in that same field way better with their intelligence level and their knowledge and what they share and how they share it and bigger impact, way better, like 100 times better. But because of their situation versus this other person's and who they're hooked up with from an attention standpoint and what they're posting, they get the wrong groups of people get like the attention, the influencer status. But usually that stuff comes out over time, right? Or people that are like, oh my God, I blew up on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn influencer. I'm going to show you how to blow up your LinkedIn. It's like, okay, that's a great one trick pony, but like, how does that apply across the board to like a concise marketing plan or strategic effort of going forward in multiple different directions? It's like, one niche, which is great. And if you're able to duplicate that, that's the key, right? So that's how I started this agency 9 years ago, is that I worked at 3 different companies over a decade, was able to produce basically the same results with the way that I did it. And I said, okay, this is repeatable and there's a need for it. And there's not many people doing this. So let me see if I can start a company that can do this at scale. And it's like, to do it for one company or one person or 3 or 5, even if it's 15 companies, but one at a time, that's one thing. But be able to do it for multiple companies in different verticals, different industries, different sizes, all at once, that's a completely different animal. And so I think that if you can unlock that, like what we have here and other agency owners that I know in the space, and even in the space of industrial, that are smart people that have done the same, that to me is, those people know something way more than these single one-trick ponies.
Eduardo said the intermission video was fire.
It was fire. Thank you, Eduardo. I appreciate that, as does the team, because it was fire. Anything else?
And Tim said it was awesome too. And he says, I owe Laura an email. It's on my list. You do owe me an email if you want your cool video like that one to be finished. I need some clips from you.
Yeah, that's right, Tim. Get it done. Tim, I haven't even checked to see if you ever emailed me back or if we got tied up there. But while I was going to have Tim reach out to his connections and get me a price on creating that our logo. And we actually got one made at FabTech as part of a video shoot. Like we shot AKS cutting systems, plasma cutting our logo out of 3/8 inch steel, and we brought it back with us, and it probably weighs like a good 12, 15 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. So I don't know if I need that anymore, but I still want to talk to you about hooking up with your connections to get that done. All right, Laura's got her hands up, so you know what that means. That means that it is time for us to go on about our day and do some other stuff. I hope you guys got some value out of this. Really think twice before you go into the influencer status. And if you know the influencers, share them this and be like, Kyle says that you suck, but don't literally say that because not everybody sucks. But there's a time and a place to use that level of attention, use it strategically, track the data, make sure it's the right demographic, and I will see you on the next one.